Welcome back in. Rule One Podcast. Brian Sprout alongside my partner, Nathan Smothers. And this week we have a very cool guest star partner.
Yeah, we have Sam Whitmire. He's from Babson Park, Florida. He's a professional fisherman. And welcome on, Sam.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, y'all.
Yeah, so a little background about Sam. We talked about his fishing background. He does a little bit in real estate. But Sam, let's kind of dive in. How'd you get started in fishing? I mean, you've done it your whole life, but on a competitive scale, how'd that?
So I've always loved fishing, man. It's just something that I always kind of had a knack for. You know, I played sports growing up, but I'm on the shorter side, and now I'm also on the overweight side. The fishing seemed like I was always, it's something that I was excelling at a little bit better than my hometown crew. You know, we were just throwing worms at the bank. Everybody threw a purple worm growing up, but it seemed like I'd get more bites and catch more fish. So, middle school, beginning of high school, my dad looks at me one day and he's like, you're better than this at me than I am. Mm-hmm. You're better than all my buddies are. You're better than all your friends are. Why don't you try and make some money at it? I was like, why not? I didn't even think about it. So we showed up to a tournament. My dad just had a 14-foot bass or a John boat. He called it the Ass Tracker. And we showed up to Camp Mac one day for a tournament. It was the high school cheerleaders have a benefit tournament every year. Mm-hmm. And so we show up, and, man, we get there, and all I've ever fished out of is this 14-foot John boat that's painted green because we're duck hunting out of it too, And we showed up, and, man, here's all these bass boats with the shiny fiberglass, and everybody just looked so, I was like, oh, my God, there's a whole other world out here. I didn't even know about it. Yeah. So we fished the tournament. We could catch like 14 pounds, but I thought we had a sack. I was like, dang, Dad, we can win. More than double our weight it took to win that tournament. But it was just so cool, and I really just kind of fell in love with the aspect of tournament fishing. It was something that I didn't have to listen to a coach about because I was horrible about listening to coaches all the time.
I think me and Smoke can relate to that a little bit.
So, I don't know. It was something I got to learn on my own as years progressed. I wanted to fish in college. I always wanted to fish professionally. It was, when we're sitting at home and I'm 13, I'm not doing what regular 13-year-olds are doing. I'm sending emails to companies with my mom about can I get a bag of worms and stuff like that.
Sponsorship.
So, sponsorship stuff. Mm-hmm. And that was like, I didn't even know that was that big of a thing at the time. It was just everything I wanted to do kind of revolved around fishing. And dream was always to fish professionally, and finally got an opportunity to do it this year. So I went ahead and did it.
Heck yeah, man.
Hey, dude, what a story.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we want to highlight here on our podcast is guys and people, women all over going after what they want, chasing their dreams. And you did it. I mean, you're a professional fisherman.
Yeah, man. I was never, as soon as I got out of high school, I took a job at a truck stop. And I didn't decide to go to college until, I missed the first year of college out of high school. I didn't go to college. I went to work at a truck stop, and I was like, man, I'm definitely not doing this for the next 50 years. So, that's kind of when my brain started turning, and, you really can go for what you want. It's not that big of a deal.
I totally agree. Yeah. You can chase any dream, and that's what we're doing. Obviously here doing this whole thing. Yeah. But it's nice. Like I said, every time we get a guest that says, yeah, I'm chasing my dream. I want to do this, and that. It's nice to see people actually doing it because there's a lot of people out there scared to chase their dreams or be creative in a sense just because, things go against them. Their job frowns upon it. Or
think that they have to every waking minute and they have to give up everything and go straight for it. And that's really not the case. It takes time for things to happen. Stuff does not happen overnight. You just gradually work towards it. And then eventually one day you're kind of where you want to be.
Yeah. So. And it's kind of like a moment where you're like, huh, okay. I have to catch myself sometimes because I'm sitting on Instagram, reading that rat poison, as Nick Saban would call it. And I'm like, man, why aren't we growing bigger? What are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? And then I have to sit back and realize, you know what? Our Instagram page has been on 30 days and we've gained, 50 followers. Well, I was like, if I look at it like that, I'm like, well, we might be gaining 1.5, 2 followers a day. If that trend continues for a whole year, we're sitting pretty on Instagram with followers and influence, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's nice I just got to stay in the moment. Keep growing, stay in the moment.
Yeah, that was another, exciting point is we try to stay humble and try to, still chase the dreams, but still embrace kind of the grind of growing. But like a cool thing, our Instagram page has been up for 30 days, and we can see kind of the analytics behind it. And we looked the other day, and we've reached 4.6 thousand accounts in 30 days. And so
5. I checked 5. Or this morning it was 5.1. You know, it was like the last 30 days, 5.1 for a new social media page. That's not bad.
Yeah. Can y'all look at like day to day? So like if you post something and you get a spike.
Yeah. So like we've been very heavy on our analytics on Anchor, the, you know, company / software that we use to do the podcast. It's sponsored or owned by Spotify. And you can see they give you charts on your viewership. You can see every episode we've done so far. The first episode we dropped was 20 views the first day. All right, 20 views. Woo, okay. In the next episode, it's 30 views the day it dropped. The next episode, it was 38 views the day it dropped. And the last one we just posted with Trey Matthews, it was 72 views the day it dropped. So like it's consistently growing. It's awesome to see. And I love watching analytics like that. All you can do is learn from it.
Yeah. You'll find those little bumps like, oh, why did we have a 200% spike this day? And then you can kind of repeat that.
Yep.
It's funny how that kind of stuff works, how you can track social media growth.
It's crazy. It's a business.
yeah, so Sam, talking about progression and everything, and your fishing background. You talked about going to college after that. Where you said you ended up going to Polk State.
Yeah, I went to Polk State. I fished for Polk State for 3 seasons. Now look, I graduated at the bottom of my class in high school. I had a 2.3 GPA when I graduated. I did not show up on time for any day of school my entire senior year.
Senioritis. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I had my first period in my senior year. I didn't even know where the class was. I think I went to it like the first two times the first week of school and never went back and passed. You know, I knew I had enough credit, so I was like, screw it. So I went to college, and I knew for a fact I would never get a degree in college, ever. I went to college to fish specifically to get experience traveling around the United States.
Well, a lot of athletes do that, especially in the baseball side of things. They're like, you know what? I can either go get a job and try to get a tryout somewhere, or I can go try to play college ball for a year and get picked up. And a lot of guys do that all the time at every level.
Especially at the junior college level.
Yeah, in Florida, it happens. But that is cool. That's a good way to think about it.
I did it because fishing outside of Florida is so much different than fishing in Florida. It's a whole nother world. You have to deal with dramatic depths. Climate change is ridiculous. The running water. Most of these lakes that I fish are actually just dammed reservoirs. We call them lakes, but they were just a big river, and then they put dams throughout it, and now there's multiple lakes.
With tons of fish.
I mean, tons of fish, and the fish act differently. And there's also different types of fish. You know, we only have largemouth in Florida. Outside of Florida, there's spotted bass, which some tournaments in Alabama and things like that, Lake Martin, Lake Lanier, they're spotted bass lakes, and they're completely different. They're a lot more aggressive. They move differently. They feed on different fish depending on whatever the forage is in that lake. And then there's smallmouth bass, which is like, you know, they're just completely different. So I had to get outside of Florida to learn how to compete outside of Florida. I know I can compete in Florida. I've done it my whole life.
And I'm glad that like Polk State offers that kind of program to people like you that want to do
that. I don't know if they do anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, that sucks.
I don't think Polk State has a team anymore. But college fishing's huge. You don't have to go to Polk State.
No. So is high school fishing, by the way.
Yes.
When I was a senior in high school, 2017, that sounds like a long time ago, but it's really not, I guess. But they just started the bass fishing team at Fort Meade High School, and a lot of my friends joined because they wanted something to do through the school, and they got to travel all over the place. And one of my buddies finished like second or third in the Bobby Lane Cup. And it brought a lot of attention to him. He had schools looking at him, and he ended up not going anywhere. He didn't want to, but it's cool to see that there's, you know, that route for people to travel to that want to get to
high
where
school
you're
fishing
at.
has gotten huge. I actually helped start the Lake Wales high school fishing team. I was a sophomore, and they voted me in as vice president the first year. So that was cool, but it wasn't near what it is now. We weren't fishing tournaments. We were screwing around down at Tiger Creek Preserve.
Well, everything takes time to grow, and
it does.
And it's just gotten more and more funding and more appealing for students to do nowadays. And I would love to see it. My cousin, his name's Micah John. He fishes the Bobby Lane tournament, and I think he fishes that youth circuit that a lot of kids around here do, and he loves it. He goes every weekend. He's fishing on the boat. And he always sends me awesome pictures of big, largemouth bass and stuff. I would love to see it.
I think it's great. Anything to get kids off the damn iPad is perfect.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we say that as we sit here on microphones and headphones.
Yeah, but we're trying to make a living.
Conversation. You know what I mean? These kids can't even talk to each other nowadays. So.
Let's talk a little bit on Polk State. You said you kind of struggled in the academic department. Did you have to meet a certain GPA while you were fishing there?
Yeah, I had to maintain a 2.0. But the last year I was there, like I had the 2.0 up until it mattered, and then I was like, okay, I'm going back to work.
Yeah.
So I just didn't. And go to school, kids. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anything I say today. I'm not credible whatsoever.
Well, I think if we all three had to answer this question here, raise your hand if your GPA got below a 2.0 in college.
Oh yeah, mine definitely.
When
Like,
I
yeah.
left, it was I had one D in one class, so I think I had a 0.5. The rest of them were zeros, so an F.
Remember on episode, what was it, 1 that we were talking about our college GPAs?
Oh yeah.
The lowest I got was a 1.8. I hit rock bottom there. I was like finding a new school. I was like, dang, it's gonna be pretty hard. Like, who's gonna take in this rehab
school
project?
Not for me, man. Schools, coaches, anything, anybody telling me what to do ever is not my kind of thing.
Yeah, you played soccer in high school, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
So how was that? Was that kind of spoil your whole coaching deal?
No, I mean, needless to say, me and the coach did not get along at all, and he didn't like my brother either. So I don't know, man. It just always seemed like there was something up with the coach. I never had a coach that was like, that was a good coach. I still respect him. Maybe like a little league coach, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've had two in my life, like coaches like that. I'm like, you know what? Well, not counting my pops. I played for him a little bit in my lifetime, but I've had 2 guys that were like, you know, those are good coaches. The other ones, I'm just like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah. And you try to be like respectful because, you know, you try to look at it from an outside perspective. And you're like, oh, well, you have, you know, a certain amount of years coaching. But then, you know, it's like, well, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
like,
if you're still coaching a losing team, it's going to be hard for me to listen to you.
Yeah, exactly. Or if have never had really major success. But yeah, let's move it towards the how far have you traveled in terms of, I know you said the whole different aspect of fishing outside Florida. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So this year, the farthest I went was Saginaw Bay in Saginaw, Michigan. It's on Lake Huron, which is a great lake.
Sturgeon up there.
No, I think that's a different lake.
Oh, my bad. I just know there's some big fish up north in the freshwater.
Yeah, so that was by far the farthest I've traveled. It was like a 19-hour drive from the house. Which, dude, like you get so used to the driving. It's
Yeah.
I would rather drive to Tennessee than have to go 45 minutes to somewhere around the house. Like it just pisses me off to drive more than an hour away from the house without going.
I feel like if you have you invest right and have a nice vehicle, travel's not that bad on the road nowadays.
If you know you got to do it, you just do it.
Yeah, it's a part of it. Like you're a professional fisherman. It's part of the job.
Yeah, it's part of it. You know.
So whenever when you're in your truck going up to Michigan, like what do you do to pass the time? Do you listen to any specific music or podcasts or
so
what?
I'm like, my music genre is crazy. Like I will literally listen to Taylor Swift or Patsy Cline and then go straight to like Slayer or something like that. Like I have no void of music whatsoever. It's really just like whatever I'm feeling at the time. I'm like, oh, all right, I've listened to all of Taylor Swift's songs 10 times now, so I better turn on something that makes me want to beat my head into the window. I listen to podcasts too. I mean, Joe Rogan's a good way to pass the time. Shout out Joe.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
He's number 1 on the charts, isn't he?
All over the
I think
place.
by a lot.
Yeah,
on
dude.
charts, yeah.
Yeah, he's crazy. I mean, we try to with Joe Rogan. I mean, we try to model a little bit, very similar to what he does, but kind of have a different perspective on it.
I feel like he set the standard, and we're trying to, follow how to do a podcast where a person like that would notice and be like, oh, that's good production, and do our own, thing, influence our own message, give our own platform to people like you or like Trey or like Anna to talk to people. And that's why we're doing it. He's a good inspiration though.
That dude remembers everything anybody's ever said.
It's insane, man.
Dude.
Any topic.
Bamboo, I'd be like, oh, and then I had this guy on. I'm like, and he said this wild stuff that I'm like, geez, dude,
He
he's actually
knows
smart.
Yeah, he's intelligent, but he knows there's topics on certain episodes. He's talking about astrology with an astrophysicist from New York, and another episode he's talking to an MMA fighter from Brazil. It's insane. his knowledge all over the place. It's crazy. I want to get there one day.
Yeah, I like how he's done it to like everybody too. There's so many people of interest. Like I love Dave Chappelle. I love comedians. So like Dave Chappelle, Ron White, and those guys, and they go on there and they have a hell of a time and it's funny. And then I also love Jordan Peterson. I don't know if y'all know who that is, but he's like a political guru. He's a psychologist. Anyway,
Yeah.
just an interesting guy. So it's cool to hear from these different types of walks of life, and then I can click right off of that and then go learn about black holes and freak out for. An hour.
I like those episodes too. They trigger the creativity.
Yeah, that's what I think this is why Brian and I both like it so much, is it kind of gets a whole new perspective. So not only are we interviewing people and trying to educate people on different walks of life, Brian and I get to hear about it and learn from different things. And so whenever we have, we've related a lot of episodes, or we'll have people on and relate them back to other episodes, which is really cool, because not only it's kind of cool correlation, but really it's just us gaining knowledge and being able to become better people and more knowledgeable in all different kinds of areas in life.
And it's kind of showing everybody that, a lot of us are more alike than we think we are, then we do the same things. We have the same methods. They take us different routes in life, but
I think it's weird. It shocks me that people don't grow up the same exact way that I grew up.
Yeah.
I'm like, what
honestly.
do you mean you weren't
Well,
what do you mean you
yeah,
didn't start
but it's hard.
wakeboarding when you were 6?
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know how to swim? That kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
But it's all over the place. There's different people, different environments, different backgrounds, families. It's crazy. But that's what we want to highlight. We want to get everybody's cool story. We're going to get everybody's cool story, and we will. Especially
being raised in Florida, I feel like we have such a rare background, because you kind of got the whole southern countryside, but a lot of southern states don't consider Florida country or whatever, or southern. They're like, oh no, it's just Florida. But then you actually come and we've got lots of cattle and citrus and all kinds of stuff.
I feel like everybody in Florida is always on vacation mindset. Once you cross that state line and you're here in the penis of America, everybody is just relaxed. I'm in Florida. It's all good here. It's normal. Yeah. It's cool. It's not wild, aggressive thoughts or anything. It's just a fun, relaxed space, I guess.
I think some of it, some people have an accurate mindset on Florida when some guy does something crazy at a 7-Eleven or something like that.
Yeah.
We don't think anything of it because
the Florida man stories, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. It happens. It's crazy. You'll be on Google and see a Florida man story every 45
we don't
seconds.
think anything about it.
Nope. Yeah. Never. Because it don't happen here.
Well, and it could be us next week too. So.
Yeah. I catch myself thinking all the time, putting gas in my vehicle at a 7-Eleven around here. I'm like, man, I'm one stray bullet away, or one bad, moment away from
maybe
being
I'll pass out behind that Walmart one day. Who knows?
Yeah, I might be a headline. I'm gonna be on I'm gonna be a headline. I'm gonna be a stat. I don't want that to happen.
You're gonna be a Florida man.
Yeah, literally.
Oh man. Yeah. So Sam, kind of back onto the fishing thing. You love fishing in Florida, but would you rather fish out of state, or would you rather stay local?
Yeah, 100% would rather fish out of state. It's more fun.
All right, I have a follow-up. Would you rather fish out of state in the U.S., North America, or would you rather go around the world and try the different waters?
I mean, there's bucket list stuff. Again, I'm all bass fishing. I don't. I saltwater fish, but I don't care about it. I just go for the day and drink with my friends.
Oh, I love to saltwater fish.
Most people do. I'm a niche community guy. But yeah, I mean, there's lakes in Japan that I think would be cool to fish, but it's not like I'm dying to go over there.
Would you ever have the desire to go catch one of those big arapaima in the Amazon one day?
I don't even know what that is. Man.
What? Dude, I used to watch River Monsters as a kid, so I asked that because there's monster fish all over the world, and freshwater, it just makes me wonder what's out there in the saltwater somewhere. It's crazy, but
there's some cool fish in Australia that I'd like to catch. I think one of them's called barramundi, and they seem to be kind of like a bass, but they get a lot bigger and they're a lot more aggressive. So I think that'd be cool. But I'm really not dying to go to Australia either. So.
Are there any tournaments for peacock bass down in South Florida?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay,
I've never caught a peacock.
So
really,
really, that's surprising.
I'd love to.
I would too. I'd like to try it
out there. Take me with you.
Yeah,
but I've never.
I would like to try it too. Apparently, they're very aggressive, pull very hard.
Yeah,
it's a fun fight.
Well, you would think if in all these bass tournaments, if they do smallmouth, speckled, whatever, they would throw in the the Peacock too.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't fit 200 boats in one of these little canals in Miami.
That's
You know
true.
what I'm
I didn't
saying?
even think about that.
Maybe it would be like a fish from land only kind of deal. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't show up for that.
Yeah. I bet if the paycheck was high enough, people would.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of being on the boat, Sam's boat is ridiculous. Have you seen the pictures?
Yeah, dude, that was a cool ass pictures. Where was that at?
I don't know. You'd have to.
Oh
show me the
man, it was
picture.
The ones on your Instagram.
it was like
I
a
think that was
battleship in the background.
Oh, so that one was at Saginaw, and that's a retared naval ship, and that
That's
was
the
pretty
Michigan
badass.
place you were talking about.
Yeah, in Saginaw
Yeah,
Bay
I
on
bet
Lake
that
Carolina.
is pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it was a cool event.
I remember like as a kid, I'd have like the professional Bass Association video game, like on PlayStation,
Mm-hmm.
and there would be a place like that at like a battleship and a lake. I'm like, wait, I'm a freshwater fisherman on this game.
Yeah,
Why is there a
it's pretty
battleship
neat
here?
to see that.
Yeah.
But so that we took off right there, like that's where in takeoff is, and there's always an off limits area. Basically, like you can't fish the boat basin where we put our boats in at.
Yeah,
And so that ship was part of the off limits, and one guy actually got his day one weight DQ'd because he came in and he had like 2 minutes to make a cast before he checked in. And he just pitched the bait to the boat and and he had a good bag too. So it was kind of
it sucks.
irritating. Yeah,
It sucks, man. Have you seen the news? I don't know where it happened. The weights in the mouth of the bass
those
fishermen.
idiots in Ohio. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
man.
those weren't bass fishermen. Those were walleye guys.
Yeah,
Bass
dude.
fishermen would never dare cheat in a tournament.
Yeah.
Wait, go into that a little bit more, Brian. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, dude. There's some. It's like a big story up north. Two guys that are big on that circuit, like you said, the Wally circuit, I guess. Were putting weights like inside their fish's mouth.
Yeah.
For weigh-in.
Unfortunately, I know like a lot about it because everybody and their brother, as soon as they saw those guys cheating in that tournament, like, I know a fisherman. Let me send this to Sam.
Yeah.
So about 100 people sent that.
Well,
to me,
I'm sure it's like red flags all over the place in professional fishing now because there's not going to be a judge out there or a weigh-in guy out there that's going to be like, well, man, maybe I should double check these fish now.
Gotta
so
check
those
every
are
mouth.
walleye. Like those fish were dead, and that's something that we'll be penalized for. If we weigh in a dead fish, like in my tour, it's a half a pound penalty per dead fish you weigh in.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So walleye, they were weighing them in dead anyway. Like you can't shove a 12-ounce lead weight down a
No.
fish's throat and expect it to live. So for one, like bass, there have been stories of cheating bass fishermen for sure, but that was like a little bit over the top. And so the backstory on these guys are from Ohio. They're up on Lake Erie, and I was actually just up on Lake Erie. This happened just a couple weeks after I got back from Ohio. And these two guys were like supposed to be like the biggest Sticks is like a good fisherman, on Lake Erie. Best walleye fisherman on Lake Erie for like years running at a time. I believe they won like $300,000 this year fishing walleye tournaments only. To find out that they were cheating in all of them, we have to expect now. And on top of boats, you know, they won Ranger boats before and stuff like that. So to find out that they finally got caught after they've done all this stuff and had to have been cheating the whole time, it's raised a lot of red flags. My problem is like, I don't want to give a hard time to that tournament director because he seems like a nice, honest guy.
Yeah.
But tournament director is the guy so there's a tournament director and there's an MC who's like, you know, he handles the mic on stage. Sometimes they're the same guy, sometimes they're not. But that MC, he's seen thousands of fish in his career. He's weighed in, you know, all the tournaments they do. If there's 100 boats in each tournament and you do 10 tournaments, you've seen 100 or 1,000. I don't know the math on this. I didn't finish college. But anyway, the guy sees a shitload of fish, right?
Yeah.
So you can kind of tell what's a 5-pound fish compared to a 7-pound fish. And if you've got a 5-pound fish that for some reason weighs 7 pounds, you know, something might be up there. So
Well, I don't know. I feel like if I get on that circuit of like I'm one of those employees, it might just be another day on the job. You know, I'm here working on a Saturday for this, you know, cash little bonus. And I'm like, yeah, this job sucks.
no, I think
Give me those fish.
I don't know. I feel like that'd be a pretty cool job.
Yeah.
if I suck at fishing too bad, I'll try and do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you ever seen anything in your realm of people cheating or getting disqualified for certain things?
Yeah, so excuse me. I've seen one time in a lake in Georgia a fish box. So it's basically like a dog cage that people have caught fish in during practice, and then they'll put them in that cage and keep them there until the tournament starts. So when we're rolling out, like when we're blasting off, we have to go through a check-in where they ask us what time we're due back in, but we have to go through with our live wells open so they can see that there's no no fish in the live well. So they'll go out there and dump those big fish in the live well and then act like they caught them that day. And it's annoying. People do all they can to screw something.
Well, there's
up.
a lot of money involved, man.
Yeah.
You're not in the Professional Bass Association fishing.
No, I
You're in-
fish the National Professional Fishing.
Yeah. And there's still a fuck ton of money in that. Like, I was looking at the, payouts for tournaments the other day when Smothers told me you're coming on. I was like, "Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's never enough, but, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's a big purse out there, man.
I mean, getting a check for $10,000 for a week's worth of fishing, just like, I think I'm going to keep doing this for a while.
Oh, yeah.
for real.
Yeah, it's probably
Especially because you
addicting.
got to fish all
Probably
week too.
addicting.
Yeah.
So, how do you? So, how often do you fish, and then and like go to these big tournaments? And then, second question is, what do you do kind of during that time that you have off? Do you have another little side hustle, or how do you make ends
So
meet?
there's 6 professional tournaments that I fish a year. And there, it's throughout the whole year. There's 2 other tours besides the one that I fish, so 3 in, all together. And one of them has 9 tournaments. The other 2 have 6 tournaments a year. So a lot of them, they'll fish from like February till maybe September, and that's about as late as they'll go. We've really spanned out throughout the whole year. There'd normally be like a 4 or 5 month off period, but we're kind of going the whole year. And when I'm not at a tournament, I'm thinking about the next one. But I sell real estate too. Like, real estate's my day job for the most part. You know what I mean?
So, in terms of like doing real estate, is your commission set up? So you're basically paid off a commission, correct?
Yeah.
Like per house you sell?
Yes.
Or whatever. So, and do you try to go after some of, like, for instance, the bigger houses so you can get the higher commission and not have to necessarily work as much and be able to focus on fishing? Or how does that work? Are you just going to take anything that's kind of handed?
So, yeah, I mean, that's part of it. But, I mean, you take what comes to you. It's, you never know. Like, I might be leaving here and one of you guys goes, well, I think I'm about buying my neighbor's house. And I'll be like, okay, I can help with that.
Right.
That kind of stuff. Or somebody might be like, I think I'm going to sell. And then, you just kind of do your job. But, yeah, a lot of it falls in your lap. There's a lot of it that you work for it. Get your name out there is a big thing. Thank God everybody in town knows my parents, and that helps a lot. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. And, I've got a lot of downtime, and it works out good for fishing because I don't have to worry about taking off of work for a week, 6 weeks a year.
Yeah.
And I couldn't listen to a boss anyway. I think we've covered that. So it works out good for me. I was in sales before I started doing this. I sold cars for 3 years, and so I kind of cut my teeth, learn how to sell and what makes people click and how to do things the easy way and still make your client happy, which is the goal at the end of the day. So, it just works out for me.
Yeah, I love that. So let's talk a little bit about some of these perks that are involved in being a professional fisherman. I mean, obviously, we all see the sponsorships.
The
on
big wrapped, nice boat.
Yeah. So, let's talk about it. I mean, do you get boats from a sponsor? Do you get, rods? Like, how all does that work?
Jeez, Nathan, why don't you just ask me how much I make a year?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's cool. It's kind of weird because, I've had sponsors since before I was professional. You know what I mean? But now that I am, it's kind of like easier to get it. Now, one thing for me is like you want a sponsor to give you money. That's your ultimate goal is to get a check from these people. And that is not easy to do.
Well,
But
the money goes towards like, your travel, your food, your expenses. It's not like
yeah.
just gear. It's nice to get a nice, cool looking shirt, but it's like, what? I need $100 because, tomorrow we got to drive to Michigan and it's $400
So
for gas.
it actually ends up being a lot. Like
Yeah.
You need a lot because each one of these tournaments, this isn't like I'm showing up to a baseball game. I've got to pay to play.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
each one of these tournaments that I fish is $5,000. So that's $30,000 just entry fees alone before I make a cast. And then I got to have the latest equipment to make sure nothing breaks. You don't want to have some raggedy old boat out there that's going to break down in the middle of a Great Lake because then you get to die.
Yeah.
And, the travel is expensive. Fuel's through the roof. You got to stay somewhere for a week each tournament you go to, you can count on spending about $2,500 extra.
Yeah.
So you need to get by. You really need like $50,000 in sponsorship money a year.
That's the goal, 50.
That's like, I mean, the goal is as much as they'll do.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But,
You'll take more.
To be able to get by. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? To not have to come out of your own pocket. Because really, it's kind of hard to make a living fishing. Because, like I said, man, if you got $30,000 sponsorship money, 6 weeks. Here I am trying to do math again with no education. But it just ends up being a lot of money, and you don't want that to come out of your pocket. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's cool to get a $10,000 check from a tournament until you have to put it towards what you already spent. So,
it's like, yeah, man, I just won 10 grand. I was like, well, dang, it was $7 grand to come up here and
so
fish.
I really came home with three, which isn't a terrible week.
Yeah. I mean, an extra $3 grand in the bank every month's nice. So,
well, you still gotta get that 10 to get the 3 in the bank. So
that is very true.
It's an ongoing fight, but it's fun. You can't do it and not love everything about it.
Yeah, that's what it takes to be professional in everything. In everything.
100%.
Well, you mentioned a little bit about like the Great Lakes and how kind of treacherous they could be. I know you kind of had a little run in there. You want to talk about that story? Didn't the Coast Guard have to come out?
I received more shit for this story than like anything I've ever done in my life.
From like the professional fishing community?
Yeah, and just all my buddies, like even my dad's on it now. You know, like it sucked when it happened and it was like traumatizing. But now that it's over, everybody's like, "Oh, you want me to call the Coast Guard for you, little boy?" You know. So yeah, I mean, I got out on Saginaw and Lake Huron, and I don't know. We keep talking about Lake Huron. I was on Lake Erie too, and it wasn't that bad. But I got caught out. Man, these lakes get rough. I mean, it's like
those are like mini oceans.
Yeah,
like
yeah, and you know, there's still current moving through them, and it's kind of just the way that Saginaw Bay is shaped. It's shaped from southwest to northeast, so any way the wind is blowing, it kind of just blows right up and down the lake.
It's gonna make big wake no matter
huge.
what.
So I was out. There's a group of islands out at the mouth of Saginaw Bay where it just dumps into Lake Huron, and I was out there, and it was blowing like 18 miles an hour.
Oh, that's choppy. That's rough.
Yeah, I mean that's not awesome like in general, but it's normally manageable. But out there, it's like swells, and they're huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean I'd never seen a Great Lake before, and I went out there and got a little freaked out and asked the Coast Guard for a little help. They never showed up. That's how
you
rough
used
it
your
was out
resources though. That's smart though. Like,
so I mean, I was just like scared. I was like, look, man, the way this is blowing, if I get swept overboard, I'm going to be in Canada and nobody's ever going to find me. So it's not like I was going down and I needed immediate assistance. You know what I mean? Like, come pick me up. I wanted somebody there to like make sure I got in okay.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Which I don't think is that big of
Precautionary.
a deal, but I'm by myself in the middle of a Great Lake, and it's 10-foot waves is what they look like, and a bass
And it
boat.
looks-
So I'm
yeah,
with
and
some
a
help.
bass boat's not the biggest like on the sides either. Like
You find out pretty quick that they're flat on top.
yeah.
So-
and you're this high off the water.
Yeah.
That high off the water in it. So I would be pretty sketched out too in that rig.
Yeah.
Especially in a lake like that with 18 mile per hour winds.
And just being by yourself, you can't see land 360 degrees around you. It's rough as hell, and you're in a bass boat. I was like, not the best situation I found myself in today. So I might need some assistance at some point. But they never showed up. I ended up idling through it for like 7 or 8 miles and finally got back to the ramp. I stayed on the phone with the guy the whole time, you know.
yeah.
So, and they never even got to me, so I shouldn't have even called them. But, you know,
Well,
was all right.
I feel like the Michigan Coast Guard's like probably just hanging out playing dice or chess or
I
something.
kept asking them, like, I was like, when are they going to be here? Like, how far away are they? And they're like, oh, let me get an update for you. And then, like, we'd go off and talk about something else because they're trying to, like, keep my mind off the fact or whatever. And I'm like, I was scared, but I wasn't.
All right,
like,
guys, I'm
completely
pretty
freaking
sure
out.
I navigated out of it. We're through the thick of it.
Thanks for the help.
Go back to making y'all sloppy joes.
Yeah, right.
I'll call you next time.
Right. Yeah. So they finally told me they were like 45 minutes away when I was pulling into the boat ramp, and I was like, oh, thanks for, I guess, the phone call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for checking up.
Hey, it
I wouldn't
really
say
kept you
thanks for
straight, though.
nothing to the Coast Guard because they help a lot of people, but you know.
Especially here, Florida, especially down south.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. So have you had, in terms of, I mean, being from Florida, was that your only kind of experience of like, dang, I might actually be going down here, or like being freaked out in the water? I mean,
I've never had that ever. And I've been on the water a lot, like throughout my life. Never had a scare like on the water on the boat.
Now, I mean, who hasn't ran out of gas in the middle of the lake before and stuff like that?
Yeah, that is
I've never
true.
been so worried that the conditions were so bad that I might not be able to make it back.
Well, I've even been like in stormy weather out like in inshore fishing, going to catch snook or redfish, and you'd be like, oh, okay, well, it's a little rough, but it's never been like, okay, well, I don't think I'm going to make it. I need to start calling people.
Yeah.
we went, I was probably about 9 or 10, my family went up to Crystal River, and we were scalloping. And obviously out there you can run, 20 miles offshore and still be in 8 foot of water. And so you can still see them. So we're probably about 25 miles off, swimming around, picking up all these scallops, everything like that, going great. Look off into the distance, and all of a sudden we see some like clouds brewing. And there was supposed to be a tropical storm coming in that way, like within a week. And so I guess it was kind of a band or something coming off. So we start headed in, and all of a sudden, these waves are huge. I don't know how big they were, but they were dang near taller than the boat. And we're in this 20-foot bay boat, and we're taking on water, trying to pump it all out. And that was probably one of the scariest I've ever been, so I can kind of relate to you there. Ended up actually driving over an oyster bar, had no idea.
Dang.
There was another boat with us, and they veered way off to the left, and we're like, what are they doing? Like, we got to get in. And apparently we were going like right over an oyster bar with these, 10-foot waves that are crashing up and down. That was wild.
I'm sure.
I was terrified. Especially as like a 9-year-old.
You're never more alive than when you're almost dead.
Awesome. Like, bad conditions on the water are never great.
No.
Yeah. And I feel like they'll very easily, like, you understand the vastness of the ocean, or, for instance, one of those big lakes, and you have a whole new appreciation. You're like, damn, like, this thing really could get me.
Very true.
It's weird heading out in a bass boat, like, and not being able to see land.
Yeah.
Like, that is, like, a bit of a feeling. I was never crazy about that anyway, like offshore ocean fishing.
Well, I will never do that. I'll go if somebody offers me. That's more of my, like, all right, well, I might have a couple drinks, hope I don't get seasick, and I'm going to throw something when I catch. It was cool, but I'd rather go, jig around a mangrove and catch a couple of nice snook or a redfish for fun, and that offshore stuff's not for me. I don't want. I want to see land. I want to be able to swim.
Scary just thinking, like, because you're so dependent on your equipment now. Mm-hmm. If you've got like one outboard motor, what if your battery dies, or what if your graph goes out and you don't know where you are and you end up going the wrong?
You're gonna have to call.
Not like I can't look at the sun and know what direction's what, but
you're gonna have to call the nice healthy men of the Coast Guard to come pick us up.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to wait a while.
I don't like being that dependent on equipment. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. So you've never been offshore?
Nope, don't have no desire to. If somebody asked me to, I'd be like, yeah, I'll try it. But the furthest I'd probably go is like 25 miles. What's out there that I can't catch it? 25 miles.
I don't think it's that great either. Yeah. But some people like what they like.
I like it. I like hooking onto those big grouper. That is a fun fight.
But I like hooking onto a big tarpon too.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the same experience, different fish, different cool picture at the end. But
So, Sam, let's talk a little bit about, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you kind of see yourself getting out of the real estate thing, pushing yourself to really become this full-time fisherman? Or, is there ever, do you kind of have a point where you're like, if I haven't made it by this age or whatever, I'll just kind of do my own deal or whatever?
So you fish as long as you can afford it. That's the only reason people quit chasing professional fishing, is because they just blatantly run out of money. No, I would never get rid of my real estate license unless I myself owned so much real estate that I had that much passive income generated that I didn't need it anymore.
Yeah.
Which is the goal. But even then, I'd keep it anyway. I don't know. And fishing wise, everybody, people give you different answers, because there is a lot of drama that happens in the fishing world between tours, because tours don't get along.
Oh, I'm sure they don't.
So, to me, the pinnacle is the Bassmaster Elite Series. And you have to fish the Bassmaster Opens to qualify for the Elite Series. So my goal would be to fish the Elite Series and then one day win a Bassmaster Classic. I think everybody across the board will give you that same answer.
Yeah. That's that's the World Series. That's the Super Bowl. That
is the pinnacle of bass fishing for sure.
Okay.
That's awesome. Obviously, that's a great goal to have. Just like, for instance, with this podcast, we'd love to be number one on the charts. It takes
I'd
time
like
and
to just
dedication.
be on the charts, top 100. The number one, that'd be really, really cool one day down the line, hopefully. You never know. But I would just like to be on there and be like scrolling through and be like, rule number 1. There's Brian Spradlin. Nathan Smiley's at 48.
Yeah.
We can do it.
They're one of those things where it never stops. Like, I hate to be cliche and say the grind never stops.
Oh,
really,
this can't stop.
No, it's always something. Like, you can sell $10 million of real estate in a year and be like, okay, next year I want to sell 20. or you can make the Elite Series and win the Bassmaster Classic and be like, okay, I want to win it again.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's
me
go
and
back to
him,
that.
You know what I
me
mean?
and him are always sitting here or calling each other, texting each other. We're like, all right, what can we do to make the next episode better? What can we do to make this episode better? What can we do to advertise better? You know, it's always you're always on the grind, and like this, it never stops. Like you can't say, I mean, we could, it's our show, but it's gonna be a while before we go. All right, guys, we're hanging up the mics. We're gonna unplug them for a while, but it never stops. It won't stop.
No.
Well, that's the cool thing about both of our, all three of our journeys right now, is kind of just learning how to adapt and learn from, some of the mistakes you made. And like, for instance, with you and fishing, I mean, you can, I tried this technique or I threw on this lure in this certain situation and, that didn't work. I had a bad day. Let's learn from it and go after it. Same like with us now. I mean, we could hit on certain points and be like, I don't really like how that flows. So let's try a different strategy. And you just learn and progress. And that's what's kind of cool about, you can always look back at the end of your life and look back at your career and see like, I knew so little, but I was so excited to learn and try to find my place in the.
I feel like that's always what you got to do, though. If
We
you want to
always
be
say
successful,
you either win or you learn.
yeah. If you want to be successful, you're always going to have to be willing to learn everything and anything.
So the tougher question that sometimes we get asked is, do you learn more from winning or losing?
Oh, I think you learn more from losing.
I think you learn more from losing too. But there are certain types of win, especially in the baseball world, that teach you how to win, like a walk-off victory, getting somebody on a base runner, like a walk or something. Or in football, there's wins like that too. You're like, okay, well.
But if you win, you had to have learned a lot. You learned enough to win.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
I definitely love winning more than losing.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I would
agree.
say,
I think you learn more when you lose as well.
because I think it also gives you like that feeling in your heart where you're like, I really, like I had an opportunity to be successful and I wasn't. And so let me learn from it. And I don't ever want to feel that again. I
Yeah.
want to get to that winning.
Yeah.
side.
You can break down a lose. You can't. It's hard to break down a win. After
Yeah.
you win, you're like, okay, but what did I actually do to win?
Yeah.
When you lose, you're like, okay, well, I know I did that, and that didn't work.
Well, I'll tell you one person that has the key to winning, and that's Nick Saban. And I wish I could sit down with him and have a conversation like, hey, coach, what does it take to win?
Yeah.
He'd tell you everything. But ultimately, it's going to come down to you, I guess.
Yeah.
Person who's dedicated and determined to.
What's crazy is, you watch Alabama play football, and we brought up Nick Saban several times. But if you sit down and watch literally just Nick Saban, like kind of forget about the game, and anytime he pops up, look at what he's doing. There's times where they're up 40 points with 20 seconds to go in the fourth quarter, and he's about to go ballistic.
Still demanding perfection.
Yeah, and it's like he has a standard, and you don't sway from it. I mean,
Yeah.
and as Florida fans, we hate that he's that good. But
Very true.
I'm not a Florida fan.
but he has that. I mean, same with the whole Bill Belichick era, and certain coaches just really they have a standard, and if you're not on that standard, sorry, bud, you got to get out.
Done. Yeah. Find a standard that fits for you.
I feel like this is a great time to kind of get into our snap questions.
Yeah, I agree.
So basically, I mean, what these are, they're kind of questions for us to kind of get to know Sam more on a personal level.
Off the water, we should say.
Yeah.
Boom.
Nice, Brian. So one of the questions we've been regularly asking people in these snap questions is, Sam, if you could have three people out to dinner, you could ask any three people, dead or alive, throughout the whole world, who would they be?
Number one is definitely going to be Rodney Dangerfield. If you don't know who that is, that's the guy off of Caddyshack.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
loud,
yeah,
obnoxious
yeah.
guy off of Caddyshack. He's a renowned comedian, and he's just hilarious. So, I mean, I'd be walking out of there sweating and crying from laughing so much. Number two, man, there's so many interesting people. None of my answers are going to be fishermen, by the way.
That's okay.
Number two would probably be Don Johnson from Miami Vice, because he's got the best hair I've ever seen in my life, and that's what I strive to have. So the entire dinner would just consist of me asking about how do you get your hair to do that?
Yeah.
And number three, probably one of my I've had very, very little grandparenting in my life. My dad's dad and my mom's dad. My mom's mom and dad were both dead when she was 16. They died when she was 16.
Yeah.
So I never met any of them, and I never met my dad's dad either. So it would probably be one of my grandfathers that I haven't met.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother perspective. That's super cool. Even that, though you haven't met them, but it's like kind of that logging where it's like, hey, you could probably tell me some guidance in my life that could really help me out.
Well,
on down
I'm
the road.
sure if we have another guest on that's had a traumatic experience like that, they would say the same thing. Like, I would like to learn from that person. Unfortunately, they passed, but they definitely learned something in the moments.
And I'm big on I like to learn what makes people tick. That's kind of like why I like sales so much, is I get to learn what people's little hot buttons, as we call them. So knowing my dad and knowing my mom, two people who tick dramatically different from each other, it'd be cool to meet their parents and see what they instilled in my parents to make them how they are, which in turn makes me how I am, because I am exactly like my dad. I mean, to a T. Anybody who's met my dad will be like, you guys are like twins. So, and that's not always a great thing, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I love my dad. He's hilarious.
But so we'll roll on to question 2. If somebody gave you $100,000, what are you doing with it? So anytime you can invest it, you can go buy a new truck. What are you doing?
I know he's gonna go up to that Lakeland fishing store and
no.
Man, they have them.
Did you go up there?
Yeah,
that place is sweet.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know. I wish that the amount was more, because $100,000 is like no money
nowadays. Nowadays.
So that's what we like this question for, because it's at a point where it's like, dang, that was very nice of you, thank you. But it's not that much money where it's like life altering, if you know what I mean.
It's enough to invest.
Using it correctly, you could, but I'd probably use it as a pretty big down payment on something that costs more north of $1 million, and then try and make money off of that.
Like a business or
okay. Or, I mean, real estate. I would definitely invest in real estate for sure.
Okay.
So in terms of like real estate, would you say like rental properties, or are you saying just buy, the
not right
open
now.
land or what?
Not right now, because in Florida the market's so high. But so I'd probably spend it all on 5 acres and then build a giant house. Like build a 400,000 or a 4-bedroom house on it, and then sell that for, I don't know, $750,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You being in the industry, do you think it's cheaper to build right now or to buy?
They're really about the same, which isn't good. It should be cheaper to buy than to build. It shouldn't cost the same to build something brand new than to buy something used. But given the right, there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of variables that goes into it. But you definitely can build cheaper than buy right now if you do it right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, especially nowadays. Well, Sam, I have another snap question for you. We kind of got rolling right off the start, with you in the conversation, because it just flows so easy. We're so, it's fun, and we go down these rabbit holes and have great conversations. But we forgot to ask you. It's the Rule 1 podcast, bud. What is your number one rule to live by?
Man, Nathan told me that y'all were going to ask me this, like last week at the bar or something like that. And since then, I've been like distraught about it. I'm like, I don't know. Because, dude, I love quotes. I'm like, oh my gosh, why is this the hardest question I've ever been asked in my life? I should have a credo. But I don't. It's my credo, you know what I'm saying? But because I love quotes, like I would look like a book if I got a tattoo of every quote that I love, and I want to. But
I would too, I'd be head to toe.
Yeah, and my dad's such a one-liner guy, kind of like Rodney Dangerfield. They've got the best one-liners. It's like, man, you can remember that forever. So I don't know. I tried to narrow it down to a few, but I think the one I'm going to go with is in a Jimmy Buffett song called "Growing Older But Not Up." And in that song, he's talking about how he's overaged and he's sliding into second base and he breaks his leg. So he's saying how he's growing older but not up, but that's not what my quote is. It would be, I'd rather die while I'm living than live while I'm dead. And yes, I do have that as a tattoo. So you can interpret that.
One more time for me, slower for me.
I'd rather die while I'm living than live while I'm dead.
I'd rather die while I'm living or live while I'm dead.
Yeah, so you can interpret that in different ways. But the way I interpret it is kind of like, die while you're living, live. Go for it.
Travel,
you know what I mean?
Have fun.
Go for the win. Hit
100%.
driver off the deck. For
100%.
God's sakes, go talk to the girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Don't
take your
scared.
shot. You miss every shot you don't take. Yeah. Like
that's I like that one. I'm maybe 70% partial to it. There's a couple others.
What's your 30? Like what would be your 30%?
So of course I'm a big song guy. I like music. So of course there's Mary Jane's Last Dance where he says never slow down, never grow old. Have that tattooed as well. So do half my friends. And another one, the one I really like, it's just too simple. But my dad told me it when I was young, and the quote is it's just a pineapple. And so it's kind of a long story, but there's this guy. There's this guy who's growing.
Yeah, we looked at each other. We're like,
it's just a pineapple.
What kind of deep meaning can I find in that?
Right. So this guy's growing a pineapple bush, and you would probably know pineapples only grow one per bush per year, right?
Yeah. My grandpa has some. Yeah.
So this guy's growing his pineapple outside of his house, and then like right before he's man, my pineapple's getting right. I'm about to go pick it. And then right before he goes and pick it, somebody steals the damn thing.
I'd be pissed.
Man.
The dude is distraught. Because I grew this damn pineapple for a year, and I finally got it, and somebody steals it. And his mom comes over one day, and he's bitching about how somebody stole his pineapple. And his mom just said, "Son, it's just a damn pineapple."
Yeah.
So for some reason that one stuck with me.
That's a great perspective.
I like it.
Though.
Yeah, it's just a pineapple. Like, you can go buy one. You're fine. Like,
but I feel like that's like a guy's perspective, and they're like, we'll get so worked up over something so stupid, and we don't even realize how stupid it actually is.
It's not a big deal at all. So it's basically just don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah, like go to the grocery store, go get another pineapple. But it's like that affected me personally. You took my damn pineapple.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it's because we're men. Just face the facts. Because we're men. We have testosterone. That's what makes us do it.
I'm pretty good about letting go. Like I have to tell I tell my girlfriend all the time, if it's not going to matter next week, don't worry about it now. And then she'll kind of calm down. So I have to tell myself the same.
Oh, yours would calm down? Mine, if I told mine that quote, she would be like,
easy. She's like, we're on the air.
That's fine. That's fine. She'd be like, well, I want to talk about it now. That's why we're talking about it now. I'd be like, well, I want to talk about it next week. Like, give me some time to get my thoughts together.
I don't know.
I need an outline. I need a game plan.
I feel like people, and even women, will kind of relax if you say the right things to them. The right thing to say to a woman is not relax. Do not tell a woman to relax. It doesn't work.
Yeah, don't work. Smothers, I think a last good question for our man Sam here would be the one that we asked Trey second in the last episode about what he, looked for in a woman.
Yeah. I mean, I know you
have a girlfriend.
You have a girlfriend, but we'll say like, what is your type in terms of like, I don't know if you want to get married or not. I don't know if you want to have kids, but what you want to find a life partner, I'm sure. I mean, obviously you got a girlfriend, but what do you look
going anywhere for sure.
We're trying to help Smothers out, by the way.
Yeah,
he's trying to find a lucky
Smothers
lady.
Needs help. Sorry.
Thanks, Sam.
I don't know, man. Like, number one thing is you got to be like just cool. I can't handle the bitching. Like, Gabs does not bitch at all, and it's awesome. And sorry, babe, but there's I have a thing that I say to people. And it's like when I ask them about their girl, I always ask them, do they cook and clean or do they bitch? Because it's one or the other. If they cook and clean, they're gonna bitch, and if they don't bitch, they don't cook and clean. So I got to pay somebody to clean my house. It's not that big of a deal.
That's funny.
So, yeah, that's cool. You got to be,
I've never heard of that.
Dude,
I've never heard anybody say
that. I swear it's a fact. I mean, every instant, like every occasion, you can turn back to that. If she's bitching, I guarantee they got a clean house. If they don't have a clean house, I bet she's cool. But,
I love that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. That is kind of
I mean, I feel like that is
that's
kind
of.
I swear to God, it's a fact. I mean, I'm really, really on to something.
You're sold on this.
Oh, big time.
You're going to die on that hill.
It worked. I mean, it's a fact. But be cool. Be able to talk. Girls need to be able to talk. They can't just look at their phone and,
kind of like airhead.
Kind of drives me nuts. Yeah. So being able to talk to her is really cool. Laughing together, be able to do things together. You know what I mean? Gabs doesn't love fishing, but she'll break down and come with me every once in a while. And then, she gets out there and she ends up having a good time. I don't have the best time in the world at Disney World. I hate the place, but sometimes you got to do that to make her happy.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have experiences like that. Like this morning, I had to go to
going to Disney World, babe.
I had to go to a YMCA basketball game for my girlfriend's little cousin at 9 a.m. in Plant City, an hour away from my home. On a Saturday morning. I'm like, when I'm waking up this morning, I'm like, like
hey man, it's just
Saturday. It's just a pineapple. It's just a pineapple. I got up, and, I went and had a good time. It was hilarious, dude. I never thought I'd watch 9-year-olds play basketball, but it was the funniest thing I've probably ever watched in my Saturday mornings. It was great. It was like Saturday morning cartoons. It was awesome.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, obviously, in my previous relationships, I know where you're coming from, but there's something about being single too. It's kind of like you got that freedom. You have to worry about any.
This man's like a flipping quarter over here, dog. We're over here behind the scenes. He's like, I like being single, and then he watches TV and sees,
You're like, dang, that does look pretty good.
He sees like a romantic rom-com movie.
Like, dang, maybe I should get married.
Yeah, a romantic rom-com.
Yeah.
He's like, I could get that. I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's things about both, but I'm happy with where I'm at. So.
Yeah.
I agree. I am too.
Oh, that's saying I'm not knocking either of them. I like, being responsible for myself, not having to answer to
We know
anybody.
what you like.
But
Yeah.
but I wouldn't mind a nice, healthy relationship. No more toxic crap.
Ladies.
Yeah.
He's coming for you.
Follow me on Instagram at Nathan Smothers. But yeah, man, I think that's about wraps it up. We're so
We had a
happy
great
and-
time.
Yeah, so happy and thankful that you were able to come on and kind of give us a little bit of an experiences that you've had, and we've learned a lot. I didn't know that much about the fishing world, but thank you for coming on and sharing, man.
Yeah, man. Had a blast. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
Sam. Any last words? Any future tournaments? Any locations coming here soon?
Actually, I start practice tomorrow for the last event of the year on my home lake, so we'll be on Lake Kissimmee.
Oh, that's cool. That's local.
Yep, you can follow along with that on nationalprofessionalfishingleague.com or NPFL.com. You can follow me on Instagram at babywhitfish, and check out my sponsors on my Instagram page. It's good stuff.
Yeah, and we'll be following Sam on the Instagram page. Cool thing that we do is every single person that we have on the podcast, we'll follow them back. And so, for instance, you can see me and Brian on there, and then you'll have Sam and anybody else that we've ever had on.
Yep.
So if y'all are looking forward to checking some of Sam's stuff out and staying in contact with him, you can go see him right there.
Can't wait.
Also, all our socials are Roll the Number One Podcast. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, just about anything you can think of. And we'd love for y'all to give us a follow and subscribe.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sam, so
Cool.
much
Yeah.
for on, man.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next week.
All right. Oh, hey, we've got one thing, guys. Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
It's Halloween.
Yeah.
Time to go have some fun.
All right, we're going to edit that.
All right, guys.